No one wants a single mom with emotional baggage. That's what my sister hissed under her breath, on her wedding day, no less. But what her groom did next. The whole room went silent. I was at my desk, tucked into the corner of our snug little house on Osprey Lane, Harbor Field. The afternoon light filtered through the blinds, laying soft stripes across my chaotic pile of receipts, folders, and coffee-stained papers. The soft clicks from my calculator kept me grounded, a steady rhythm as I rushed to wrap up a client's tax return, only 20 minutes until I had to grab Evan from soccer practice. This messy desk, cluttered with sticky notes, cold coffee mugs, and a framed photo of my son's goofy grin, was my little command center. Built with grit, caffeine, and sheer willpower. By 32, I'd learned to find peace in the madness that came with being a single mom. The front door banged open. Evan charged in, cheeks flushed, hair damp with sweat and dirt. "Mom, are you done yet?" he called, leaning against the doorframe, those mischievous green eyes sparkling. "Almost, bud," I said, glancing at my chipped mug. "Homework all done?" He waved a crumpled math worksheet. "Yeah, but I need help with history. Something about the American Revolution." I smiled. Of course he did. Evan was 10, and my whole world. It wasn't just his brains, it was his heart. The way he'd wrap me in a bear hug after a long day, or sneak little spaceship doodles onto my paperwork, he made every single hard moment feel worth it. After Dad died of a heart attack 5 years ago, it had just been the two of us, figuring life out one step at a time. Damn, my phone buzzed that I didn't have to check. It was my mother, Vivian. Her voice came through sharp and fast, like always. "Just a reminder, dinner's at your place tomorrow. Juliet's bringing her fiancé. You're coming, right?" It wasn't really a question. "Yeah, we'll be there," I said, already bracing myself. "Good. Just make sure Evan behaves. This is Juliet's big moment." Because of course it was. It was always about Juliet. Her picture-perfect life, her effortless beauty, her spotless everything. "What does her fiancé do?" I asked, keeping my tone flat. "Graham Bennett. Financial advisor. Old money. Yale." She practically purred. "He's perfect for her." I stopped listening. In Vivian world, perfection meant designer handbags, polite small talk, and a life polished to a shine. And me? I was the daughter in practical shoes, juggling bills and tax deadlines. That I ended the call and stared at my laptop, the screen reflecting the ache in my chest. From the next room, Evan hummed to himself, probably sketching another alien spaceship. He felt it too, the cold shoulder from my mom, the distant stares from Juliet. But we kept moving forward. Tomorrow, we'd walk into that house with our heads up. Vivian Grand Victorian on Hale House, lavender looked more like a museum than a home. All gleaming wood floors and stained glass windows, intimidating as ever. As Evan and I stood outside, I tugged at his jacket, straightening it. Gave his shoulder a quick squeeze. "Ready, kiddo?" He nodded, his face calm but guarded. "I'll be fine, Mom." That look, that quiet, brave little shield of his, made my chest tighten. The door swung open, and there she was, Vivian, dressed to perfection, her smile as stiff as her posture. Orally. "Evan. You're late." "We're right on time," I said, walking in without missing a beat. The place smelled like lavender candles and roasted lamb. From the parlor, sharp, practiced laughter floated out, Juliet's laugh. "Come in," Vivian said, gliding ahead like she was hosting a royal event. "Juliet and Graham are waiting." Juliet sat draped across a velvet sofa, wine glass dangling from her fingers, her dress practically shouting, "Expensive." She stood when she saw us, all too perfect smile and zero warmth. Orally. "You made it," she said brightly, giving Evan only the briefest glance. And Evan. The man next to her stood. Graham Bennett, tall, smooth, not a hair out of place. His suit looked like it cost more than my rent. "This is Graham," Juliet said, looping her arm through his like a bracelet that he reached out to shake my hand. Orally. Great to meet you. His hazel eyes met mine, and something about his gaze felt strangely familiar. Nice to meet you, too, I said, returning the handshake. His grip was firm. Steady, then he turned to Evan. Hey, man. What grade are you in? Fifth, Evan said, a little shy but curious. Fifth grade was the best, Graham grinned. Built a whole solar system for my science fair. Mars fell off halfway through my presentation. Total disaster, Evan laughed, relaxing in his seat. I'm doing a volcano. Fingers crossed it doesn't explode on the gym floor. You've got this, Graham said with a wink, and I just sat there, stunned. No one in this house ever talked to Evan like he mattered, until now. Juliet cleared her throat, loud enough to break the moment. Orally. You're not seriously wearing that to the wedding, are you? Her eyes skimmed over my blouse and slacks, amusement flickering behind her perfect lashes that I kept my expression calm. I'll figure something out. Vivian jumped in with her usual dose of tact. We didn't ask you to be a bridesmaid, sweetheart. We know how busy you are, with your situation. My nails dug into my palm beneath the table, but I nodded, saying nothing. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Graham shift slightly, his jaw tightening. He didn't say a word, but something in his face told me he'd caught the insult too. I gave him a small, uncertain smile. I wasn't sure why, but it felt like he understood what it took for me to stay quiet. Dinner crawled by, a blur of clinking wine glasses and endless wedding talk, all starring Juliet. That Evan's hand brushed against mine under the table, a quiet anchor. We were okay. The weeks leading up to the wedding were a whirlwind of late nights, to-do lists, and endless logistics. Even though I wasn't officially part of the bridal party, I might as well have been the one marrying her, minus the glam and the attention. Juliet was too busy getting fitted for designer dresses, and Vivian didn't believe in lifting a finger for anything beneath her. So I picked up the slack, confirming caterers, smoothing out last-minute floral disasters, triple-checking the programs for typos. I didn't complain. My job as an accountant had taught me how to manage chaos without losing my mind. I did it for Evan, for my own sanity, maybe even for a scrap of recognition from my family. One evening, I was holed up in Vivian's study, drowning in RSVP cards and color-coded seating charts. The air smelled like lilies and old books. I was fixing a guest's name, someone Juliet had somehow mixed up with her ex's mom, when Graham walked in holding 2 mugs. Coffee? He asked, offering one to me. Thanks, I said, surprised. I tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Just fixing another one of Juliet's oops moments. She accidentally invited her college rival. Graham chuckled and settled into the chair across from me. You do know you're basically running this wedding, right? I shrugged. Someone has to. He glanced at my organized chaos, sticky notes, spreadsheets, highlighters. This is seriously impressive, he said. I felt my cheeks flush. It's just what I do. He leaned back, his eyes studying me in a way that felt different. Ever get that weird feeling like you've met someone before? Total déjà vu? I froze mid-scribble, pen hovering over the paper. Maybe. Why? Do you know someone named Isla? My breath hitched. Isla. Brave, radiant Isla. I'd met her 12 years ago while volunteering at a hospital, right after my own health scare flipped my world upside down. Even during chemo, her laughter lit up the room. And her little brother, always sketching rockets in the corner. You're Isla's brother, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Graham's expression softened. You remember her? I could never forget her, I murmured, my voice trembling. She changed my life. I was 20, he said quietly. I used to watch you read to her, make her laugh when nothing else could. You even brought Evan once. My eyes stung. He was just a baby. He drew stars for her that day. She called him her little astronaut, he said, smiling faintly. We sat there in silence, both of us lost in memories that weighed heavy but felt sacred. She loved you, Graham said finally. Said you were like the sister she never had. Said you showed her how to live. I blinked away the tears that threatened to fall. I never thought I'd see you again, I said softly. Me neither, he replied, voice low and full of something I couldn't quite name. But now that I have. Graham trailed off, his eyes locked on mine, deep and unreadable that I looked away, my heart thudding so loud I was sure he could hear it. Something had shifted between us, and it scared the hell out of me. Just days before the wedding, my phone buzzed. Graham Bennett lit up the screen, and my stomach flipped. Orally, I need to talk to you, he said, urgency in his voice. I want you to be maid of honor. I nearly dropped my phone. What? Graham. Juliet didn't even want me as a bridesmaid. I know, he said gently. But I told her, it matters. Family matters. You matter. His words crashed over me like a wave, warm, unexpected, and a little too much. I'm not trying to stir the pot, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I'll take care of it, he promised. Just say yes. I paused, nerves prickling up my spine, then exhaled. Okay, I whispered. The next morning, the Ice Queen herself called. Vivian. What were you thinking? She hissed. Juliet's a wreck. You had to make it about you, didn't you? I stayed calm. I didn't ask for this. Graham did. She scoffed. Of course he did. You always play the victim. Don't ruin your sister's day. I stared out the window, watching Evan chase his soccer ball in the yard, laughing like the world had never hurt him. If Juliet doesn't want me in the role, she can tell me herself, I said. I'll step back. You can't, she snapped. Graham already told everyone. Don't make a scene. I ended the call, my hands shaking. Doubt crawled under my skin, but Evan's laughter kept me grounded. I'd do it, for him, for me, for the chance to stop being invisible. The night before the wedding, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, Vivian venomous words playing on a loop in my mind. Juliet hadn't called. Not a word. Her silence cut deeper than any insult. But Graham's voice, his belief in me, was the thread holding me together. Evan's soft snoring drifted from the next room, a lullaby reminding me why I kept showing up even when it hurt. Tomorrow, we'd walk into the fire. The wedding at St. Thomas Episcopal was straight out of a bridal magazine. White roses, golden light streaming through stained glass, every detail curated for Juliet's moment. Evan and I arrived early. My dress was a simple sky blue number I'd found on sale, modest, but it made me feel like I belonged. Evan, in his little black suit, gripped my hand tight. You look awesome, Mom, he whispered. That I smiled and kissed his forehead. Thanks, buddy. In the bridal suite, Juliet was a flurry of white tulle and hairspray. Her bridesmaids fluttered around her like butterflies, adjusting this, fixing that. She barely looked my way. Her jaw was clenched so tight I could hear it grind. Vivian, perched in the corner, gave me a once-over. That dress, she muttered. Very, you. I smiled, unfazed. She'd called me plain for years. Didn't sting anymore. The ceremony started. I stood behind Juliet, bouquet in hand, every move practiced and poised. Not for her. For me. Evan sat in the front pew, pride beaming in his eyes. He was my anchor. Graham caught my eye from the altar. His nod was steady, warm. I returned it. A quiet promise passed between us at the reception inside the Camden Opera House. Chandeliers cast soft light over silk-draped tables. Everything sparkled. Juliet took the mic in her glittering gown. I want to thank my maid of honor, my sister, Orly, she said sweetly. Applause broke out. I smiled and nodded. Then, her voice turned. A single mom, raising a kid on her own. So brave, right? She said, sarcasm dripping off every word. Still hasn't found anyone to love her, but hey, she keeps showing up. The room fell silent. A few uncomfortable chuckles trickled out. Anyone looking to adopt? She added, smirking. She's still available. Laughter, sharp and cruel, sliced through the room. Evan's small hand found mine under the table. It was trembling. So was mine. I couldn't breathe. Then Vivian stood, her smile smug, the final twist of the knife. Our Clara's always been the quiet one. Reliable. Maybe dull, Vivian drawled. But even second-hand goods have their value, especially when they come with a kid in tow. Laughter swelled, sharp and jagged. My vision blurred, but I didn't cry, not in front of them. Not in front of Evan. I stood, legs shaking, ready to walk out with my dignity barely intact. My heart hammered against my ribs. Then, scrape, a chair screeched back. Graham stood, his face flushed, fists clenched tight at his sides. The room froze. He strode to the mic with the quiet authority of someone who'd finally had enough. I need to say something, he said, his voice rough and shaking with fury. Juliet let out a nervous laugh. Graham, what are you? He raised a hand, and she stopped cold. Tonight was supposed to be my wedding, he said, scanning the crowd. But weddings aren't about dresses or speeches or centerpieces. They're about truth. And the truth is, he looked straight at me. Orly and I didn't meet last month. We met years ago, when my little sister Isla was dying. The room rippled with gasps. I stood frozen, blood rushing in my ears. Clara was a hospital volunteer. She brought Isla books, sang to her, sat by her bed when I couldn't. She brought her son, Evan, just 5 years old, who drew pictures of rockets and stars, and made my sister smile, even in her last days. Beside me, Evan's small hand tightened around mine. His eyes were wide. I never forgot them, Graham said, turning now to Juliet. To Vivian. But what I heard from you tonight. His voice cracked. Was cruelty. And I'm done. Juliet's mask slipped, her voice breaking. Graham, please, I'm calling off this wedding, he said, clear and final. A glass shattered somewhere in the room. Vivian rose, pale and rattled. You don't know what you're doing. I know exactly what I'm doing, he said. Send me the bill. I'm done. He walked to Evan, knelt beside him. Thank you, he said softly. For being the light you are. Then he stood, turned to me, and held out his hand. Come with me. And just like that, I did. I slipped my hand in his. Evan clung to my side. Together, we walked out, past Juliet's tears. Past Vivian glare. Past the room of stunned strangers who'd never seen the truth so clearly. We didn't look back. We ended up at a quiet little restaurant by the water. The deck creaked beneath our feet, and fairy lights swayed gently overhead. The waves shimmered silver under the moonlight. I finally exhaled. Evan sat between us, tracing circles on the table with one finger, calm now, steady. Graham watched him with a warmth that caught me off guard, a tenderness that reminded me of my father on his best days. Our plates sat untouched. It didn't matter. I'm sorry, Graham said finally, voice rough. For the speech. For the scene. For everything they said. You don't need to apologize for their choices, I said. You stood up. That's enough. He looked down, then up at me. I owe you the truth. About why I was with Juliet. I didn't ask. I just listened. After Isla died, I was lost, he said. Juliet was loud, alive. She pulled me out, for a while. I nodded. I knew about needing rescue. I knew it never lasted. But she never asked about Isla. Never wanted to. And the way she talked about you. He shook his head. Like you were a stain she couldn't scrub out. I swallowed hard. Then I saw you again, he said, voice low. And everything just clicked. His phone buzzed. Juliet's name lit up the screen. He silenced it. She'll keep calling, I said gently. I won't answer, he said, steel in his voice. She'll hear from my lawyer. Evan looked up from his napkin doodles, tiny lighthouses and moons. Graham smiled. Remember those drawings you made at the hospital? He asked. Stars, planets, rockets? Evan blinked. The ones for the lady? Yeah, Graham said. That was my sister. She kept them by her bed. Evan's face lit up. She said I was funny. You were her hero, Graham said. The waves crashed quietly beneath us. The silence between us didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like home. The next morning, we drove to Mount Batty Cemetery. Rolling green hills met the sea in the distance, the headstones bathed in morning light, the sunlight filtered through the pines, casting a soft golden glow across the grass. Isla's headstone was simple, graceful. Just her name, and beneath it, beloved, Graham knelt, placing a handful of white daisies, her favorite, at the base of the stone. I stood just behind him, holding Evan's hand. Then Evan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small, painted stone, yellow sun, tiny stars, his handwriting clumsy but sweet. I made this for her, he whispered, bending to place it beside the flowers. Thank you for liking my drawings. Graham's breath hitched as I touched his arm. She'd love it, he murmured, voice thick. That we stood there in stillness, linked by hands and memories and something that felt like grace. I closed my eyes, heart full, and whispered to the wind, thank you, Isla, for bringing us back together. The breeze stirred the pine needles around us, warm and soft, like her laugh. As we walked back to the car, Graham reached for my hand that I didn't let go. Something had lifted. The ache I'd carried for years no longer dragged me down. Evan skipped ahead on the gravel path, humming to himself, and for the first time in a long time, I felt real, bone-deep hope. Not just for me. For us. 1 year later, I stood on the sidewalk outside my new office on Main Street in Camden. The brick building wore ivy like a crown, and above the door hung a sign that still made my heart flutter, Clara's Financial Services. My name bold mine. People need to know who's behind the magic, Graham had said when we finalized it. His smile that day had felt like sunrise. The inside was calm and warm, gray walls, a soft sofa, Evan's latest soccer photo and his wild little doodles pinned above my desk. Business was steady. Word spread fast in a town like ours. I'd earned trust, one spreadsheet at a time. Evan was 11 now, stretching taller by the day. Captain of his soccer team. Confident. Centered. His laughter filled every room. Graham, he was our constant. He worked long hours, but he never missed a game, a bedtime story, or a quiet Tuesday night curled up on the couch. We weren't married. Not yet. But we were us, a family in every way that mattered. As for Juliet and Vivian? They faded, like bad dreams in the daylight. Juliet's social glow dimmed after the wedding fallout. Her influencer gigs dried up. Vivian left the occasional voicemail, half apology, half accusation, but I never called back. There was no more room in my life for their poison. Only peace. It was Christmas Eve. The living room glowed with twinkling lights, garland draped over the mantel, cocoa warm in our mugs. Evan had fallen asleep on the couch, wrapped in a fuzzy blanket, probably dreaming about the skateboard he'd circled in the catalog a dozen times. Graham and I sat by the fire, wrapped in the kind of silence that feels like music. He shifted beside me, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. I've been waiting for the right time, he said. My heart stuttered. What's that? I asked, already breathless. He opened it. Inside was a ring, vintage, delicate, deep green. An emerald. It was Isla's, he said. Before she passed, she told me. Give this to someone who teaches you what love means. He met my eyes. That's you, Clara. Tears welled instantly. Graham. He held the ring with both hands. Will you marry me? He asked. Let's keep building this life together. I looked at Evan, his steady breath rising and falling under that blanket. At the ring, Isla's blessing wrapped in gold and memory. At Graham, the man who saw me, stood up for me, chose me. We're already a family, I said through tears. But yes. Let's make it official. Outside, snow began to fall, wrapping our little home in soft, glistening white. A new chapter. A clean page, and if you've stayed with me through this story, thank you. Truly. Your presence means more than I can say. If it touched you, hit that subscribe button and join our little circle. We've still got more stories to tell.